trying to kill us?
I was winging it. How does this pen work?
That might just be a really nice pen.
Yep, just a pen.
A pen's all you need. It's mightier than a sword.
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood, and more importantly, that animation style looked an awful lot like kind of Archer style stuff. What did we just see, Bryce?
It was like Archer meets Spider-Man. That was wild, yeah.
Yeah, that was a trailer for Agent Elvis, a new cartoon coming to Netflix in March. They didn't have an exact date. It stars Matthew McConaughey as Elvis.
So it stars
Presley.
Elvis as Elvis.
And it's him being a super spy for a three-letter agency, I'm sure. It's also from the Sony Animation Studios, which is the Into the Spider-Verse folks. It does kind of have the Archer sort of thick stroke illustration style, but it looks really interesting. That's coming in March. They don't have a date for that yet, which is strange, but it looks cool.
Hey, Tom, I finally get to
Brian.
introduce you to my new BFF, Adam Ganser of the One-Upsmanship podcast, the video game podcast of record on iHeart.
Thank you. When they asked me how I should be billed, BFF was the thing I didn't want to say, but
Well,
I'm glad that got said.
Build for fun. I'm going to send you an invoice.
Wait, you're paying for friendship? What's going on? Yeah. Adam Ganser, welcome. It's good to have you.
Hey, thanks for letting me on. I'm excited about this.
Here's a little bit of a radio tease. This all happened because as soon as The Last of Us came out, I said, hey, do either of you guys want to come on and talk about The Last of Us? And Adam said, I'll come on. I don't know that you're going to like what I have to say.
That's true.
We'll find out in Spoilerin time afterward.
Okay.
Fantastic. Well, to get us there, we have to go through the primary target. AMC Theaters announced a new pricing plan. What could go wrong with a new pricing plan? Everyone's going to love it. Here's what it's called. Sightline. It charges you a different amount based on where in the theater you pick to sit. Now, there are 3 price tiers because Ticketmaster doesn't run this yet. Value is the cheapest seats, described as seats in the front row of the auditorium, as well as select Americans with Disability Act seats in each auditorium. So the ADA seats are cheap. And the front row of the auditorium, it might be the first couple of rows. It just says front row in their description. These are discounted. So you pay less than you would normally pay. Preferred is the most expensive. It's described as seats in the middle of the auditorium. So the prime seats, the one that everybody rushes for if you don't have assigned seats. And then standard would be what you'd normally pay for a show. And that would apply to anything not in those other 2 categories. If you are an AMC A-list Stubbs A-list member, that's the one where you pay to see a certain amount of movies per month, you will not get charged extra if you pick preferred seats. It will be included as part of your A-list membership. The new pricing does not apply to showtimes before 4 p.m., so matinees are exempt, or any discounted days. Apparently they have something called Discount Tuesdays. Preferred seating pricing won't apply then. The new plan starts Friday in New York, Chicago, and Kansas City locations, and then will expand to all domestic locations by the end of the year.
So, first of all, there's nothing I love more than the image of AMC slapping its hand together and saying, ooh, look at all these chickens about to hatch. I'm sure people are coming back to the theater any moment now. What say we carve them up for the maximum value? Let's bring all the joy of airline pricing to the movie theater.
Right. That's what people want to compare their movie experiences to, plane rides.
Well, but there is, so when I was a kid, it was general admission and, first come, first serve. And you would sit there with no entertainment on the screen to get the best seats and so on. You had no way to determine, who sat next to you. First time I ever experienced reserved seating was at an Alamo Draft House, and now everybody does that. And weirdly, I found it interesting that they just assume that sitting in the middle is what everybody wants and is the premium spot. And it's like, I don't value that very much at all. What I value the most is nobody sitting next to me. And it reminded me of my whole seating strategy on Southwest Airlines of how I would rather be in the very back of the plane if I can have one empty seat next to me. It feels to me, Adam, like this is kind of inevitable. Somebody had to at least start trying this at some point. I am curious as to why they would do it, considering that almost all the box office receipts go to the movie the movie rental, and really traditionally it's on concessions that people make the money. How does all this land with you?
It doesn't make sense because it doesn't incentivize me to go to the theater. Like, I'm not like, oh, now I can go for the same price as I'm currently paying and sit in the chair I would probably get anyway. But like, now I know that I'll have that from paying this amount of money. And also, like, now I like to think about how some people socioeconomically can afford a better seat at a movie theater than me. Like, sitting right there next to me, that person can afford a better ticket than me. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's
like,
wild. Like now you get to walk into a theater and immediately know who to hate.
Right. It's like, do we need this to be like a theater box and like,
You go hand out some
France?
free M&Ms to the folks in the front row, and then you glare at the folks in the middle seats.
We need a curtain. We need a curtain.
Everyone's like trying to make it through a plane ride. Everybody's just trying to make it through. Why would you want that to be the vibe of your movie experience? I don't get it. It just doesn't make me want to go,
I think you've hit on something important there, Adam, which is this is not fixing the main problem. And maybe it's not meant to. AMC is not presenting this as we've fixed theaters. They're just saying here's a way you can get the seat you want. So it's my job to trot out, what would be the reasonable reasons that they might do this. It is very similar to sports and concerts. You pay for the seats that are better. You pay a little more, and everybody knows that the people down in those seats paid more. We're just not used to that being the case in movie theaters. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but it does fix a couple things. One is if you want to get a discount and you don't mind, a crick in your neck, now you can get a cheaper seat. Or if that's the only thing left, which has happened to me a couple of times, there's this little compensation of, well, at least I'm not paying full price for this. And if you're someone who is always late to grabbing your tickets, and the ones in the middle that you want are gone, this might mean that they're still around a little longer and you have a better chance at them. I'm like you, Brian, though. I actually prefer a seat that I think is going to fall under the standard price anyway, so I guess I win.
Well, and that makes me think that here's a little bit of corporate conspiracy, Brian, coming out. What if this is a middle play to get what they really want, which is season pass holders? Anytime, any movie, you get those cheap seats. It
encourages you to get a season pass because you're like, oh, then I can always get the good seat.
Right. And I don't really mind sitting in the front row because the truth is, it's a little bit weird at first, but then very quickly you adjust, and same with being on the sides and all that stuff. Now that I've said it out loud, I believe my own conspiracy. I would like to subscribe to my own newsletter.
They should have led with
Congratulations,
that.
you have your first subscriber. Yeah.
Like, I think everybody's excited about the idea of a subscription to a movie theater seat, even if it's a bad seat. Like that idea, I mean, Movie Pass, right? Like everybody liked the idea of it, even though it was not cost effective. I think it's just that it's one of those things where, yes, they maybe are creating opportunities for people who might, I'll take a flyer on sort of a cheap seat. But what it's eradicating is the sense that we're all going together to a casual American experience. Like, it's getting rid of that and making it now a premium experience. Right.
Well,
like it used to be, right?
Got differential pricing and always
now
has.
it does. Yep.
And
has it always? I guess that's
pretty
true.
much. You always pay better for the front seats. Yeah.
Well, and also, baseball is not the same at home as it is in the stands at the event. And in a world where movie theaters are losing their exclusive, what was it? Used to be 45 days, 6 weeks of nobody could
90-day window
watch it. Yeah. Now that windowing is going away, I'm kind of a fan of you're going to decide, do you want to be there for an event? Do you want to be there for Avengers 8, Thanos snaps again? Then in that case, give me any seat for that.
And maybe that's where this makes sense as a strategy, like for those premium releases like that.
I've noticed when I'm going to see a movie that is not like opening day Marvel release, those front rows are almost always empty. And I wonder about that. I'm like, are they just, is assigned seating causing people to look at the map, because I've done this, and go, well, I'm not seeing that showing because the only thing left is the front row. And does giving you a discount on those front row make a few more people go, well, but at least I don't have to pay extra? On the other hand, how many people get dissuaded because all the middle seats are the only ones left, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to pay a couple extra bucks for that. It's not worth it to me.
So let's take a very short lap on what matters to us personally, because again, the rigid structure of this is so obvious and on the nose that it makes me think that there's some secret plan behind it. But things that matter to me is that my party can be all together, or if not all together, then at least broken into, groups of 2 or 3. So I'm sitting next to somebody I care about. Next after that, I would prefer to not have anybody sit next to me. And then we start getting to my preference of being in the middle, and maybe not the front row, but never in the back. Oh my God, I never want to be in the back of the theater.
Adam, what about you?
I would pay extra money to have no one sit by me. I completely agree. I would pay extra money to control the nature of the people that are allowed in the theater. Like no loud laughers, nobody who asks questions, no, man, no, like I'll pay $30 so nobody asks a question.
You just swipe a credit card and then suddenly that person just shuts up. Yeah, I love that.
That's it.
You know what, Adam, you just jogged something in my memory I haven't thought about in 5 years. I have a friend of mine, when we went and saw Deadpool, I think the first one, he told me that as a matter of policy, he always buys 2 seats. And he always gets on the edge.
I was about to ask you, because you keep saying that if I could pay money, I'm like, well, you can. It's just a second ticket. I'm just wondering if anybody's ever done that.
Yeah, well, I got a friend who that's all movies cost twice as much to him because he can't handle it. What about you, Tom?
I think that's worth it, though. I've never thought about it, but man, I'm thinking about it now.
Now you're thinking about it, yeah. I did it once when I was doing this series called Pretend I'm Dumb About Star Wars, and I wanted to make sure I had room to take my notes without bothering someone. So I bought a second seat to make sure I wasn't sitting right next to someone. It's the only time I ever did it. My preferred seat is on the aisle. So I'm not sure if that counts in the middle, because I feel like middle is middle here, but we'll see. It's on the aisle, and it's at the front of the upper section. So in the stadium theaters where you have like the 5 rows, then you have the aisle everybody walks in on, and then you have the next. I like to be in that front because a lot of times there's a railing there that I can put my feet on, gives you extra leg room. And I like to be on the aisle so I can shoot out of there whenever I needed to, real easy. And I think those are going to end up being standard seats.
Bryce, what about you?
I don't want to go to a theater. I don't want to go to a theater.
You were the movie pass guy.
I was, but I went to Avatar. I had such a bad experience at Avatar 2. And when I did, that was at a Regal where they have assigned seating, but nobody checked or bothered, which made little social awkwardnesses when I thought I had plenty of space around me, and then people just walked up. So I would just like cheaper tickets, I guess. I'll sit in the front. I like sitting in the front. Maybe I'll try value tickets.
Dream come true for you.
Yeah.
Value tickets.
Dude,
is there a single worried person that down the line, suddenly the cool chairs are only going to be in the premium spot? And we're going to have like buckets and like wooden
That's
wooden
where
benches.
my head was going. It's like, okay,
you know what I mean?
This is a test of the waters to see if people will do it. Then once they do it, because what you're right about, Adam, is in the early days of baseball, there was like 2, maybe 3 tiers, right? There were the box seats, there were the bleachers that were cheap, and there was everything else, just like this, 3 tiers. Now you've got like the terrace reserved and the loge and the food area and all. They've like, there are 100 different types of seats to a baseball game. Is that going to happen with movie theaters? They're going to be like, oh, we put comfier seats in the premium section, and those are available for a little extra money. I mean, there are some cinemas where they have like balcony seats with table service separate from the rest of the theater that cost a little more. This is just another version of that.
You know what else? There's the other vector of time of day, where it's like, I would prefer to go at 11 a.m. when there just won't be many people around. In that case, good luck, tricking me into an upcharge for the middle. I'm just going to show up.
They're not doing. They're saying anything before 4 p.m. is just one price for everything.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes. But this is a glacial thing, man. This is one of those, like, it starts like, sure, that ice isn't moving that fast. And then suddenly it's like, you can either buy the tickets where like they feed you unpopped popcorn on a rusty bucket, or you can pay like $50 and sit in a nice chair.
Oh my God.
And they give you the corn dogs or whatever your thing is.
Wouldn't it be great to go back to the days of Shakespearean Globe Theater, where the hoi polloi, a bunch of homeward bound riding the silver rails, people are cooking their popcorn up in the front and singing songs with banjos.
Exactly.
We need a curtain.
I bought the value seats. I'm bringing my Coleman with me.
Laundry is being hung across the theater and dried.
They write in responses to jeers from the audience to the movies. Cordkillers@gmail.com is where you guys could tell us your preferences. Is this, number one, something you would like? But number two, just tell me the order of things you care about in your movie-going experience. Because we haven't even gotten to the quality of the screens, or like maybe there's one where it's like it's known. You ever go to a movie theater where there's a dead pixel and you just know it's like it's auditorium 8 and you're like, it's fine. I'll forget about it after 15 minutes.
Yeah. You can pay to get rid of the dead pixel,
Right.
or get the augmented reality glasses that will get rid of the dead pixel.
Well, you know what? I'm morally opposed to anybody paying extra to get a superior experience out of their entertainment.
No, they should just volunteer to pay us.
No, actually, I'm just a hypocrite. Go to patreon.com/cordkillers and give us money and get a superior experience. If you give us just $1 an episode, you'll get your own private RSS feed. You'll get exclusive access to our After Talk segment.
Brian, hold on. Yes, they can get all of that stuff, but they can also just sign up for Patreon and not use any of it.
Sure. Yes. Or they could just give us money. Actually, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll accept $1 per episode for you to never, in fact, take the $1 never listen challenge. Go 1 year giving us $1 per episode, and then proudly write us 1 year from now about how you went a full year abstaining from our show while still keeping us loud, live, and independent.
There's no obligation for you to listen.
This is great. No, I love it.
I don't love this plan.
The absentee boss challenge is what we'll call it.
Yeah, we're quiet quitting. You're absentee bossing.
None of this is quiet. None of this is quiet.
Patreon.com/cordkillers. It's the only way we can afford not to sit in the value seats. Please help us. Let's talk about how to watch. TheStreamable.com noted early last week that Netflix had updated its Help Center pages in the US, outlining changes to its password sharing enforcement. It said at the time that it would require users to connect to Wi-Fi at a primary residence once every 31 days. Users trying to sign in elsewhere would be asked to create their own account. Travelers had ways they could get a temporary code that they could use on their device while they were traveling for up to 7 days. Users could transfer their profiles to new accounts if they created one. It said all that stuff. And then the next day, Netflix removed those help pages from the US site. Turns out Netflix wasn't prepared for The Streamable to shine a light on that section of its US help pages, and it removed them. They were there when The Streamable wrote the story. You can find them on archive.org if you want to look. A Netflix spokesperson told The Streamable, for a brief time yesterday, a Help Center article containing information that is only applicable to Chile, Costa Rica, and Peru went live in other countries. Oops. Now, at the same time, Netflix did announce they added some premium features to its $20 a month plan. So you can have up to 100 active downloads on 6 devices now. It used to be 4. And spatial audio is available on more titles at the premium level, more than 700 titles than it is on the other levels. There's still some spatial audio at the other levels, but there's more than 700 titles at the premium level. Brian, which would you rather talk about? Netflix's accidentally publishing guides to how they're going to catch you sharing your account, or 700 spatial audio titles?
Specifically, what I want to know is whether or not Adam or you believe that was the actual whoopsie that Netflix did. There was definitely a whoopsie. The question is, was the whoopsie that they published something that is a policy in Chile, or was the whoopsie that they published this idea at all and then had to backpedal and make up maybe a little white lie about why it ever showed up?
Adam,
Remember
you
that time-
tell me what you really think, and then I'll make up an answer for the other thing.
Okay. Oh, I love it. Devil's advocate. I love that. Remember that time Netflix said they were going to stop doing discs and like split off into a separate company? And everyone's like,
Quickster.
wait a minute.
Yeah, Quickster.
Yeah, and everyone's like, wait a minute. And they were like, just kidding. I think this is a back to base moment for them.
So you think that this was intended to be a clarification
course.
universally?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. This is, I mean, I just don't believe the idea that somebody down at the Netflix center hit the wrong button. It was like, oh no, our policy has been broadcast to the entire world. I don't believe that. That's insane. Okay. Like, so I think they did it. And then everybody, including me and my brother, had a quick phone call like, bro, we're going to do Netflix anymore. What are we going to do about this? And they were like, oh no, nobody wants to pay us for this service. And we'll lose eyeballs and advertisers and, no longer be able to make Stranger Things. What are we going to do? So they said, we're not doing that. Ha. That's what happened. I 100% believe it, no matter what they say.
Tom, do you believe them when they say this was a whoopsie from chili? My favorite type of chili.
So the argument in favor of this being the whoopsie it was accidentally published is that Netflix is going to do this. They have confirmed, like, we are rolling this out. So even if Adam's right, it's just buying them time to try to convince people not to cancel, which very well could be. I do think it's possible, having used many content management systems at companies over the years, that they could have a poorly designed interface where someone hit a checkbox that said, copy this help page over, and either scheduled it for the wrong date, like it was supposed to go live March and they had to go live in February, or just check the wrong box. I do think that's entirely possible. And I also think Netflix wants to get ahead of this because they've been talking about it a lot. And so I would expect that if they were going to launch it in the rest of the world, US and otherwise, that they would be signaling that ahead of time rather than just kind of pushing it on the help page one day without telling anybody. That's my best effort at the other side of that.
So we know that Netflix is continuing to expand into increasingly specific niches for all content, and that their global footprint is continuing to accrue subscribers. We know that it's getting harder and harder to get more subscribers as fast as they used to in the United States.
Especially in the North American market. Yeah.
Right. What this feels like to me is it's reminiscent of the good old days of right around when Game of Thrones was starting, and HBO could have it both ways because HBO was not available. There was no legitimate free or paid way for you to get your hands on Game of Thrones. So as a result, all the stories, news headlines, Game of Thrones, most pirated thing in the universe. And they were able to get that notoriety and eventually had to offer services for it. This feels like for a long time, Netflix has been able to look the other way, not talk about the fact that everybody is definitely sharing Netflix passwords. But now now it's time to put the squeeze on. And I think I don't think they're handling it as gracefully or as subtly as they think they are.
I mean, okay, maybe I'm being a little bit conspiracy theorist, but like, I think Netflix in general has not ever had to be fiscally responsible. Like, I think they've always
operated. Or to date, they haven't, because they've been totally expansionist. They were able to, $1 billion for House of Cards. Why not? Let's go.
Right. And, it was paying off for them for a pretty long time. Right. And, but I think we all kind of knew somewhere in the back of our brain, like, I don't know what they're doing over there, but this can't be financially feasible. And I think there's probably behind the scenes, like a pretty bad spreadsheet that people are reading, like, oh no. And there's no way to fix it other than trying to squeeze. And that's bad. That's bad for them. Right. Like, they're going to have to really think about, making stuff that's not just algorithmically driven. Like, they're going to have to think about risking on shows instead of like trying not to do that and stuff, instead of squeezing the customer. I don't think that's going to work for them.
We got some emails that will chime in on this later on, but it does make me think about the fact that it's bad insofar as it's bad for the stock price, because stocks, of course, everybody investing wants to believe in perpetual forever growth. If it was a privately held company, it could just responsibly say, yeah, that's about how big our share of the market is, but let's just keep doing that and be perfectly happy. But you're right. As far as stock prices goes, when you worship at the altar of infinite expansion, you face that.
Yeah. I really, my actual personal theory on this is that Netflix never worried about sharing because they figured there was just as much chance of someone sharing an account and then wanting to start paying for themselves because of the inconvenience of sharing. Sharing an account isn't always the greatest. Somebody has to change a password or your profiles get mixed up or whatever. And they thought, you know what, there's probably just as much chance of people becoming a Netflix subscriber, like Brian was saying with HBO and Game of Thrones, as there is not, until they got close to saturation. As soon as they got close to saturation in the North American market, they said, okay, we don't have to worry about Asia. Asia's growing gangbusters. We're actually growing pretty good in EMEA, Europe and the Middle East. But Latin America and especially North America, we're getting close to the bone. So we're going to have to start thinking about our strategies there. And you've got board members who say, password sharing. There's 100 million accounts. You could turn them into paying customers, even if you only turn 1% of them. That's 1 million accounts at $10 a month. And those voices get loud enough. At some point, they're like, well, they're right. Even if it's only 1%, it doesn't bring the value up a lot, but it brings it up a little. And honestly, we don't know what effect it actually has on turning people into paying account. There's never been a study on that. So let's mollify our shareholders and go ahead and do this. It probably won't hurt too much, and it certainly will help. And I do think that they're probably right about it won't hurt much. A lot more people say they will cancel Netflix because of this than will cancel Netflix. Way more people are going to cancel Netflix for what Adam said, which is they just don't like the content anymore.
Well, this is the whole seen benefit versus unseen detriment, right? That nebulous idea of brand value, the real estate you have in other people's minds. Like, you will see the uptick in subscribers. What you will not see is everybody 10% less likely to enjoy Netflix anymore.
Yeah, it's you can't measure that, right? Yeah.
Well, I think we're also seeing them invest in certain properties that have repeat watchability. Like, that's another under the radar thing they're doing to try to maximize the consumers they have. Like, for instance, they just paid $1 billion for Seinfeld, right? Like, it's a lot of money for a show that's 30 years old. Why? Because everybody who likes Seinfeld watches it on repeat, right? Like, they're investing in more properties like that are not singular events, but are rewatchable.
Which is weird because, you could always get the free algorithmically AI-driven version of
Seinfeld.
Oh, wait, except it got canceled.
Yeah.
Until
Larry? Larry or
did you hear about this?
Larry. Yeah, Larry on Twitch.
He's got a 2-week ban for accidentally saying some stuff about trans people and liberals. So
so political, that AI.
They changed the model. It's a whole story.
It just picks words. It doesn't know what it's saying, but yet
there was like one or two though. Yeah, there was like one or two moments I was like, that's pretty close to a Seinfeld gag. Like, I was getting excited. Like, they might get it. They might get there. But not quite.
Real quickly, before we get off the topic of Netflix did sign up for a 3-year major sponsorship of Cinémathèque Française. It is a nonprofit that holds one of the Française. It's a nonprofit that holds one of the largest archives of film and film-related items like props, costumes, etc. in the world, and offers daily screenings of films around the world, basically trying to promote the history of film. Netflix will co-present some screenings and donate items to the museum. So really trying to get friendly with the French cinema industry, which is really important if you want that 6-month-long window that France has to get shorter at any point in the future.
I don't know about you, Adam, but this seems like a truly altruistic move on behalf of Netflix. It seems like they truly do want to preserve the value of film.
They have a global responsibility as curators to make sure that cinema is represented and never to exorbitantly profit off that. At any point.
Can it be both? Can it be both altruistic but also self-interested?
Maybe
Netflix wants to know.
So, quick idea. Here's a pitch. Instead of restricting password sharing, maybe give like different tiers of passwords.
I knew
expensive,
it. Of course. Can we get like cool Netflix, the tier that's cool Netflix, where they like it's like Cyberpunk and it's like they like all the good shows go to that one and they pay $50.
Could they charge you a different amount based on where in your living room you sit? While you watch
right. Oh, you just install the Netcam.
I'm sorry, you're sitting at an optimal level. You have not paid for that amount.
Right.
All right, let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location. under surveillance.
Ayaz Akhtar is keeping us updated with what's coming to streaming services this month. Take it away, Ayaz.
What's up, Cordkillers? Ayaz here. Let's take a look at what's new to stream in February. Netflix has a new documentary called Gunther's Millions. It's about a dog who has a trust fund. Oh, and the dog's handlers have a cult-like entourage. Did I mention this is a documentary? Yep. Netflix has a new documentary called Bill Russell Legend. It's not about a Russell Terrier. It's about one of the greatest professional basketball players to ever walk the earth. Bill Russell Legend goes online on the 8th. You, Season 4, Part 1, comes to Netflix on the 9th of the month. It follows everyone's favorite stalker, Joe Goldberg. Was that a pun? I don't know. Perfect Match is a new Netflix dating reality show starring people who were on other Netflix reality shows. It's kind of like a reality show remix. The series arrives on Valentine's Day with new episodes weekly. Speaking of Valentine's Day, HBO Max has Harley Quinn, a very problematic Valentine's Day special. It will start streaming on the 9th of the month. Nope, that's not a mistake. That's what's happening. This series has been super fun, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for a good adult animated series. HBO Max has new episodes of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver starting on the 19th. On the 12th, there's some kind of huge football game happening. That's right, I'm talking about Puppy Bowl 19. This is a 3-hour matchup where Team Rough takes on Team Fluff. The winner gets the Wayfair Lombardi Trophy. The Puppy Bowl streams on HBO Max. Disney Plus added Black Panther Wakanda Forever. There's a lot packed into this Marvel movie, but it's done very, very well. On the 8th, Disney Plus is adding Assembled, the making of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. If you wanted to find out how exactly the actors handled the water scenes, you'll find out here. And I've saved the last for last. Animaniacs, the third and final season, hits Hulu on the 17th of February. Want to know more? Watch this show, Cordkillers.
Thank you, Ayaz. Please stay here and watch the show, like Ayaz said. We're going to go through DCU announcements from James Gunn now. So I'm just going to go through the stuff that Gunn announced, and we'll go around the horn, and you guys tell me what you think. DCU and DC Elseworlds was the big overarching announcement. So Joker and the Batman are examples of what will be in Elseworlds. The Batman Part 2, by the way, opening in theaters October 3rd, 2025, got a date. But everything else will be in DCU. So you'll have a consistent universe in DCU, and then you can have fun stuff like Joker and the Batman in Elseworlds. Let's start with Superman Legacy. It will not be an origin story. It will be about Superman balancing his Kryptonian and human backgrounds, set to open on July 11th, 2005. There is a separate Superman movie apparently being produced by J.J. Abrams through Bad Robot and written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. That's in development and would be Elseworlds. It would not be DCU. So this is James Gunn written Superman Legacy. Adam, how you feeling about it?
There's nothing wrong with that. Superman's tough because they've never done the story that I'm excited about with Superman. And I guess, I mean, like, this is a pitch that a friend and I are writing, so spoilers. But like, Superman to me is only interesting way out in the future when he's tired of doing this. That's when he's interesting. And I say that because every story of Superman is him dealing with his alien origin and his human origin. That is Superman, right? So like, it's fine if they find some new angle into it. I'm sure it'll be well made. I'm sure it'll be well performed. I think James Gunn is a good director. There's nothing about the movie part of it that's bad. But like, I didn't forget the Superman movies I've already seen. So like, I don't need more of it. I need something new. And to me, put them way out in the future. Superman 1,000 years from now. What is that?
I think you nailed what's why Homelander is the best Superman. Is
that an idea that exists?
No. I don't know. I mean, Homelander is definitely. You've seen The Boys, right? I mean,
I have not seen it. I need to see it.
Oh my God!
I know. I'm missing it.
Okay, all right. Quick side note: the whole labeling everything as canon, not canon, Elseworld, and all that stuff. Who does that seem like that's going to get tedious down the road? Bold called shot is all I really have to say about that.
Oh, I found that to be tidy. To be like, look, everybody is always complaining about whether this DC movie fits in or not. We're going to make it real clear. There's one line that does, and then everything else.
I take more the attitude of the thing that I liked about, and it was done intentionally in Stephen King's The Dark Tower series as an homage to the spaghetti westerns, where people literally didn't know what direction various towns were. So people would be in El Paso and they would head east to Los Angeles or whatever. And you're like, wait, did I hear that right? And it led you to this kind of mushy, confused, what's happening? And then as a kid reading Marvel Comics, I would see the G.I. Joe meets the Transformers episode. I'm like, how do they and they never talk about the giant alien robots? That's really, I dig all of that. And I think trying to be strict on it, I think that'll feel real good for about a decade, which is maybe all they want to do.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but to me, DCU is just what Marvel's doing, and then Elseworlds is outside of that.
Correct.
Yes, that's what it sounds like, and I love the outside of that idea, because I think the burden of watching canonical superhero movies and maintaining the awareness and like detailed analysis of it as a movie watcher is a little bit antithetical to why I watch movies. So I like that there is, I like that it's like, at this time it's Batman Beyond. Who gives a shit?
Well,
Just watch it, you know what I mean?
I guess along those lines, and then we'll keep on moving forward. But like, for example, Logan sits somewhere in could be the end of a thread of a Logan story, because there's references made to things that happened in the early X-Men. I like that rubber bandiness.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see what you mean. Like if you called Logan Elseworlds, Marvel Elseworlds, then suddenly you've cut off a possibility.
It would take a little something away from me.
Yeah. All right.
They would turn it around, though.
Yeah, they would.
The Authority is an ensemble movie about superhumans who have a less than idealistic approach to saving the world. Are you familiar with the comic, either one of you?
Not me.
I'm not.
I am not.
Yeah.
I am not.
Okay, so this is not quite The Boys. Seems a little more like Irredeemable or something like that. But yeah.
Sure. What's wrong with this? Sounds good.
Yeah.
Do it.
Could be great.
Yeah.
Hard to tell. Too early to tell.
The name The Authority is a strange name for what they are. But like, okay. Like
that is the
otherwise...
DC name too. So yeah.
Sure.
Cordkillers@gmail.com. Educate us.
Yeah. Fans of The Authority, write us. The Brave and the Bold, the Bat Family with Robin as Bruce Wayne's son, Damian.
This would be an Elseworld version, I assume? Yeah.
No, this would be DCU.
Right.
Because we've never had a DCU Robin.
Oh, yeah. Now we're already into those weeds that I was worried about.
And so the DCU Robin will be Damian.
At least they take a swing. It's fine. I don't mind that. Because there's always, an otherworld version of, Nightwing or whatever, and that's fine. So I'm open to it.
All right. How about Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow? Supergirl was raised on a rock chip off Krypton, and she's different than Superman. Superman's all idealistic. Supergirl is like, man, I'm not idealistic.
I'm here for it. The only Supergirl anything I've ever experienced was the 1980s weird supernatural paranormal.
Oh, you never watched the CBS CW one?
I've heard that was good.
Really good. Yeah, there's some good episodes in there.
Is that backstory for sure what this is going to be? Like
that's all they've said so far.
That's what they've said.
She was raised on a rock chip, and she's not. This isn't your positive outlook Supergirl.
That's fine. I guess I wish that she wasn't. I wish that she was Supergirl from a totally different background than like sort of a one-off on Superman's backstory. You know what I mean?
That'd be interesting.
Gunn called her
like
much
a fully
more
different
hardcore. If that's the actual words.
Yeah, but like maybe not even being a Kryptonian. That might be deviating too far. Yeah. But I'd be there for that.
Yeah.
I mean, she watched her entire world get killed in front of her while Superman had got sent off as a baby. So yeah, she's probably got a different impression of things. Swamp Thing, one-upping the Rocket Raccoon Guardians approach with Swamp Thing. Basically James Gunn said a lot of stuff about like, with people didn't think we could do Rocket Raccoon, and we figured out a way to do it, and I think I know how to do Swamp Thing.
In my heart, there is only one canonical Swamp Thing, and it has the dude from Octopussy in it. It's great. The serum only makes you more of what you already are.
Is this going to be based on that run where like we got back into the character with the very famous comic artist? There's like
Alan
one
Moore?
run. Yes, that is a great comic series, if that's what this is going to be, I'm in on it. I hope that's what they do.
Yeah, I did. I'm double checking to make sure I didn't miss anything. I didn't see them. Sometimes they were saying this is based on this run. I don't think they said that about this one.
I hope
They just
I
talked
hope it
about
is.
Rocket.
Because I think, like, I'm really into like philosophical Swamp Thing. Like, I'm into that. So, like, let's hope that's what it is. I dig it.
Now over to the TV announcements, and one interesting note here: they are going to use the same live action actors to do the voices. So if you do the voice on the animation, you'll be the live action actor in any live action versions that include that character.
Hands in the air if that's ever really mattered to anybody. My hand's not in the air, by the way.
Huge fan of Harley Quinn. Kaylee Cuoco does a fantastic job with the animation, and Margot Robbie does a fantastic job with the live action, and I didn't worry about them not being the same.
I feel like they're serving up something that nobody's asking for here.
Wait, hold on. I got an alternative here on this stuff.
Okay.
This is getting ahead of the MCU issue, right? Where they got all the big actors to be Iron Man and to be Doctor Strange and all that stuff. And suddenly you have a bunch of A-list actors who you want to get all these alternative rights for: video games, TV shows, voiceovers, whatever. And now this gives DCU at least a little bit of a cushion to say, like, hey, we're going to get some maybe lesser known names. And if they pop off, then we don't have the Robert Downey Jr. problem. In my video
we've
game.
already got them trapped in an old school record contract. Oh my God.
360 deals are back.
Boy, I don't know that I would enjoy Marvel's Midnight Suns more with the actual Robert Downey Jr. hate reading all of his lines, because didn't we get that once with the guy who played Tyrion, in the Game of Thrones Telltale game? He was just totally phoning everything in because it was an obligation.
Oh, was he in that? Was Peter Dinklage in that?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't played it. Okay, well, I'm gonna check that out. I like the idea of Peter Dinklage being mad about doing that character. That thrills me. That really thrills me. I think this is a good thing in that it is about acknowledging to fans we care about the continuity. That's a good thing. And, I trust that means they'll cast premium talent to do both of those roles. So not that I want voice actors not to get work, people who just do that. I do want them to get work. But it's but I see that, they're trying to establish this is one continuous universe. That's good.
It's tough because there's three types of talent. There's unproven talent, emerging talent, and proven talent. Proven talent gets to charge premium prices. Your Robert Downey Jr.'s. Emerging talent is Robert Downey Jr. coming out of rehab doing Iron Man at the beginning. And then,
Right.
Unproven talent is Robert Downey Jr. in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. That's tough. If we could get the sweet spot, that would be great.
This may sound very controversial. To me, emerging talent are the ones who get to do the most fun work. It's harder as a career for sure, to get to the point where they want to hire you as Marvel, but you get to do much more interesting roles than somebody who's booked for life to be Captain America for the next 30 years or whatever,
Yeah. All right, TV shows here. Creature Commandos. In the comic, it was like Frankenstein and stuff, but apparently James Gunn is going to include a different array of Creature Commandos. So Suicide Squad's Weasel will be in it. This is written by Gunn and coming to HBO Max.
In Gunn, I trust.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Waller is going to use the character to allow them to do Team Peacemaker without having to have all the characters from Peacemaker. So that team will appear alongside Davis as a continuation of the Peacemaker show, just focusing on Amanda Waller.
I am ashamed to admit that I can't remember which one Waller was.
Viola Davis from Suicide Squad, the dark skinned lady.
And she's the mom of the woman in Team Peacemaker who's...
Annalisa Keating and How to Get Away with
I thought
Murder.
that was... Am I thinking of CCH Pounder from The Shield? Oh, never mind. I don't know.
I mean, you might be. Who's an excellent actor and watch The Shield, everyone. But that's not... I don't know if that's the same person.
That's not who
the
played
same
Amanda
person.
Waller.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Viola Davis is that person.
Yeah.
Mm.
EGOT winner, Viola Davis.
That's
right. Oh, yeah. That's so cool. Yeah, I didn't know it either, Brian. I didn't know any of that.
I feel bad. I legitimately feel better now.
We've got Lanterns, which is described as being kind of in the vein of True Detective, but for Green Lantern. Hal Jordan, the test pilot, first played on screen by Ryan Reynolds, and John Stewart, an ex-Marine and one of DC's first black superheroes, will be the two main Lanterns, although other Lanterns will pop in and out.
Man, I never got into the Green Lanterns.
Sign me up forever on this. Like Chinatown, every DC story. Great. Noir up every one of them. Like that's fine by me. I don't care about Green Lantern. Good. So give me a fun trope I like. Weigh in on that. Sign me up.
Forget it, Hal. It's Earth Precinct.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I want. I want that line in it, please.
Excellent.
Let's do it.
We've got two more here. Paradise Lost, which is described as being Game of Thrones, but set in Themyscira, which is where Wonder Woman was born, but set before Wonder Woman was born. So maybe more House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
So it's not actually Paradise Lost, which is a thing that is being made. Right?
We're talking about the Milton books?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
they are currently making that, I believe. So
No, this is
Wonder Woman.
This is a Wonder Woman paradise.
Okay.
That is lost before Wonder Woman is born.
Okay.
Show me what you got.
Sure.
This is where I reveal that I speak very little. I barely. I'm fluent in Marvel. I barely speak. I can order two beers in DC.
So Brian, you know Game of Thrones,
Yes.
right? And you've seen Wonder Woman,
Yes.
and you remember the island where she grew up.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's Game of Thrones set on that island.
Yes. That island. Not my favorite part of Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was my favorite part of Wonder Woman.
Neither. That implies that I want different factions of those groups to fight, and I don't know different factions yet. It's like you can say Game of Thrones, and I know what that means, and you can tell me in this place, and I know what that means, but that doesn't mean I care yet because I need to know the people. I need to know who this is.
Yeah, you're telling me a setting, not and if setting's your trip, then you're all into this. I get that, but if you are into character, you're into story, there needs to be more, and I assume there will be, but it's not here yet.
Correct.
Booster, a loser from the future who uses basic future technology that is very advanced or unavailable in our modern times, comes back to modern times and pretends to be a superhero.
Yes, 100%.
Booster
yes,
Gold.
Yes, one of my favorite I spend so much time imagining, outside of the language issue, how many years back I would have to go to be perceived as a freaking superhero god. Like, assuming I could speak Middle English, could I be Tony Stark of 1682?
Yeah, Booster Gold. I left off the gold when I first said the booster. Adam,
Greenlight it. Let's
Green
fast track
Lantern
this
it.
one. Let's get it done. Yeah. If it was that, it'd be even more. Like Noir will always be number one for me, but otherwise it's good.
All right, let's talk about what we've had our eyes on. Something we have been watching. Adam, what you got?
I've been watching Deadwood again for, I'm going to say, the 8th time. I've also been watching White Lotus and some other things, but I can't recommend enough the show Deadwood.
What brought you back to it, outside of it being excellent storytelling?
I'm going to tell you, it's that the creator has Alzheimer's.
Oh, have you read David Milch's autobiography?
I have not read it yet. But I'm going to, because one of the fascinating things about this show is Milch is a little bit of a tyrant. And as I have heard it, I wasn't there, but as I've heard it, he basically dictated the scripts.
Yep.
Like the writers were in a room and they were basically reorganizing what he said, and he's laying on his back and speaking to text the entirety of this show.
And not only that, he's doing so in iambic pentameter. His autobiography, Life's Work, begins with him saying, hey, I'm pretty sure I wrote this book. Everyone agrees that these are my papers. I'm writing this before very early in the morning while I'm fairly lucid. Enjoy.
It's wild. I mean, there's something beautiful about how ephemeral the show is in that context. That it wasn't even really finished. It was it was sort of like this utterance that he could no longer do again, right? Like that maybe no one could do again. And there's something really beautiful about that because it's great on a parallel level with what the show's about. and great as a TV consumer to think of the sort of larger meta narrative around it. But it's also just beautiful and fun. And I mean, fun. We use that word very lightly. I don't know how it's a little bit grim.
I mean, it's a wild ride for sure.
Yeah, great acting. Yeah, it's grim fun. If you want to see a fight in the street that's dirty and like they really go for it for a while and breathe hard and stuff, this is the series for you. It's quite good though. Excellent show.
In his autobiography on the subject of the premature cancellation of Deadwood, he says only a child believes these things go forever, and only a child believes that you can't do it again. And I found that very poignant.
Yeah.
Adam, you said this is like the 8th time through for you?
I love Deadwood. Yeah. Like there's a part of me that's like, as a writer and as a director, I find it just so well crafted. And it's also like a very cheap show, really, because it's only in this like little Western town. They basically had to build this little town and then they owned it. It's not like a, surveying the plains kind of thing. So there's something in me that's like always wanted to make some kind of contained show like that. And it hasn't yet become a thing, but so it's partly that too.
Yeah. We did this for Spoilerin time a while back, and then we did the movie later on when they came out. And we're right there with you. I have a dream of someday doing a Cordkillers from Deadwood.
From
the actual location. Yeah.
That'd be incredible. I wish
just
that
for kicks. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't dream big. That's
That sounds like I'm belittling you. I'm not. I hope that happens. That would be very fun. You should do it.
No, I think it would be fun too. Brian, which one of us gets to talk about Poker Face first?
I'll keep it nice and short. Oh my goodness, am I loving Poker Face? Starring Natasha Lyonne. It's very, very dead simple. If you miss Columbo, if you just wish Columbo was back with a little bit of like just a very simple twist. Some episodes are a little bit silly. Some episodes are really silly, and some are crazy silly. And I am here for all of them. They're great, very simple mysteries that I love with all my heart.
The first episode is like a movie. So much happens. The only reason it can't be a movie is that it ends leaving you wanting a series. It's a brilliant little trick to give you this amazing origin story movie, and then at the end say, and the only way we can satisfy you is to show you her adventures on the road, which he then does in classic TV trope fashion, where you open up with none of the main characters because you're setting up the story of the week, and you need to introduce those characters and get you to care about them before you bring Natasha Lyonne in. It's amazing.
It's Knight Rider. It's the Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. This is super fun.
It's Ryan Johnson that wrote
yes,
this,
it
right?
Is.
Okay, I need to put this in my body.
Brian Johnson plus Natasha Lyonne, right? Yeah.
And also,
your body will not reject it.
I'm not going to hype it for complexity. I'm going to hype it for just being great.
It's just being clever might be a word I would use.
Oh yeah, no. There's a number of aha moments, and because of the conceit of the show, there's moments that a character I'm like, okay, and then they'll say something I'm like, and I know her trademark phrase. I'm like, oh, you did it now. You said the word that way. Okay.
I'm in this.
And it's kind of amazing to me that he's captured that old Incredible Hulk style thing without being nostalgic, right? It's not trying to look old or anything in that way. It's shot in a modern way, but yet, even as I'm like, well, I think I figured out how they did it, I feel good, not spoiled. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. A very, very example of a thing they do that's very modern is somebody who cooks barbecue decides to give it up, calls himself a murderer, and it turns out it's because he saw the movie Okja on her recommendation. It's great.
Okay.
All right. Bryce, you texted us about this one. What should we be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I got a great pick for you guys. This is a BBC Netflix co-production. It's called Kunk on Earth. This is Diane Morgan starring as the ill-informed prestige documentary host Philomena Kunk. Kunk is a recurring character from some of Charlie Brooker's series, like Weekly Wipe, and they've done a few spin-offs with her. This follows her in a 5-part, I believe that they're half hours, episodes as she just, retraces the history of the entire Earth. This is so fun. I've already been seeing clips like every day from people clipping out moments from it. What's great about this is it is so dense. Like every line is a joke, is a bit, is a gag, and it really, really, really works. Her delivery is perfect. The interviews that she gets, they remind me of like old school like Daily Show interviews a little bit, right? Where you would kind of do like, we're kind of talking about something serious, but something ridiculous, something kind of wacky. And then you like don't get the reaction. You cut to the very next thing. Like it's a kind of good bit of that. It feels almost like Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah, I was about to ask, is it kind of like a Borat thing?
But it's not, it's more, it is satirical against the format of these like Planet Earth style documentaries.
Okay.
It's not exactly
Yes.
mean.
Right.
And so that gives it a bit of a different feel. I think it's great. It's super easy to watch, and it is on Netflix now. It's called Kunk on Earth, Cunk on Earth. If you've got something we should be on the lookout for, please email us cordkillers@gmail.com.
It takes a certain chutzpah to call your show Kunk on Earth. Like that's just such a bold title. I have to watch it now.
Well, I would add to that, like, especially because Kunk is a character in another series,
right,
that you're now putting this in front of people who may or may not know that and just being like, nope, we're just going to ride it all on that.
Yeah, it's this. What else do we need to say? Apparently nothing, because I like it.
Yeah.
I'm way in on it.
I love it too. All right. Let's first of all remind folks that if they want to know how I'm doing, you can just sign up for my newsletter, freetomnewsletter.com. Every Friday, I send you a note. I tell you what I've been up to, link to my podcasts and all of that. You can email me back. We have a conversation. I went and saw the 40X movie of BTS concert on Saturday. I'll be telling you all about that in the next newsletter. So go sign up, freetomnewsletter.com. Meanwhile, Brian, how are they going to read it?
They're going to do it on a doghouse system. The folks who keep us in business with their awesome, high-powered, excellent gaming machines and their unparalleled customer service. Head on over to doghousesystems.com/rogue, ROGUE, spell it right. You'll get a little extra something when you do. And more importantly, they'll know that it's their loaning us of equipment that is bringing them or you to them.
Yeah. You come to the mountain that is Doghouse Systems.
Okay.
It's a very simple
Time
bit.
for the front. Time for the front lines. Peacock will no longer offer its free with ads tier to new subscribers. I think moments after I said on Cordkillers last week, the brilliance of Peacock is they've got that free ad supported tier to get people into the tent. They canceled it. That tier lets you watch a more limited selection of Peacock stuff without having to pay. Now, if you're on that tier now, they're not going to kick you off. It's just new subscribers won't be offered that tier. You'll only be able to get the $4.99 a month premium plan, which has ads, or the $9.99 a month premium plus tier, which has almost no ads. The free tier will still be offered to current subscribers who cancel as a retention method, or if you lose access after a complimentary subscription expires. So an example all these articles gave was Cox Communications is ending the free trial of Peacock they were giving their subscribers. If you're one of those folks losing your plan, you'll get offered the free version of Peacock if you don't want to pay.
Man, and I thought I was being bold asking people to pay us and not listen for a year. Daring your audience to quit their subscription so they can get the free version of it. Hell of a move, Peacock. Meanwhile, Apple launched MLS Season Pass, available for $14.99 a month or $99 per season on Apple TV app, providing access to MLS matches, Audi 2023 MLS Cup playoffs, Leagues Cup, and original content. Last summer, Apple signed a 10-year deal for the streaming rights to Major League Soccer.
Yeah, no blackouts. I wish I wanted to watch more soccer than I do. I like to watch a little bit, but this is amazing for people who are way into it. However, if you like baseball, forget it. YouTube TV has dropped MLB Network after it could not agree on a carriage deal. The channel will not only be unavailable, but your recordings from the channel will also disappear. Apparently, their deal gave MLB the right to say, no, you can't keep the recordings in the cloud if you lose us. My guess is this is going to go until just after the opening day of baseball, and then they'll figure out a deal.
Oh, you think this is one of those face-off staring contests?
Yeah, this happens right before spring training is about to start. And now they can go through all spring training, like, trying to see who can blink first.
And Warner Brothers Discovery is bringing several free ad-supported channels to Roku and Tubi. One of these channels will be called WBTV and include shows like Westworld, Raised by Wolves, The Nevers, and The Time Traveler's Wife. What? All shows that left HBO Max in December.
We said this. We said they were taking them to a fast channel, Bryce. Why are you asking surprise?
That is still stupid.
That was shoe dropping.
It's still dumb.
In unrelated news, I believe Brian Brushwood kept saying that they should call it the WB app and not HBO Max. I hate being right all the time.
Whoa, that's wow. That's all I needed to say. Wow.
They took stuff and made it free, and everybody's upset. All right.
They took it. You're right. They took it. They took it from you, Tom. You already paid for Raised by Wolves.
I know, and I can't get my money back for that.
It's like a pea-shell game. You're right.
Here's some other notes. With the Super Bowl taking place this Sunday, HBO has decided to release this week's episode of The Last of Us 2 days early. So you'll be able to watch this next episode Friday, February 10th, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. The Yellowstone prequel 1923 has been approved for a second season. Starting February 23rd, some classic episodes of the Australian soap opera Neighbours will stream on Amazon Freevee in the US and UK. This is ahead of the new Amazon-backed season of Neighbours coming later this year. If you're in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Ireland, or South Africa, you'll be able to see those same library episodes, but you have to get them on Amazon Prime Video. Paramount announced Ridley Scott's Gladiator 2 will come out November 22nd, 2024. Gladiator 2, more gladiating. The next round of independent stories within the Star Wars universe, known as Star Wars Visions, will get a date of return, coming to Disney Plus May 4th. May the 4th be with you. NBC's over-the-air digital channel Cozy, spelled C-O-Z-I. If you've ever watched it on an over-the-air antenna, you'll want to celebrate its 10th anniversary. That thing's been around for 10 years now. That means digital broadcasting has been around for 10 years now. ABC renewed La Brea for a third season. Season 2 returned last week, so they've already approved it for another one. Hulu renewed the animated series Hit Monkey for a second season. There's a trailer for Murder Mystery 2 starring Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler. That'll be coming to Netflix March 31st. Netflix also ordered a second season of That 90s Show. And the CW, which is free ad-supported programming partly owned by Warner Brothers, but not WBTV, which has Raised by Wolves and Westworld. The CW is mostly owned by Nexstar, with CBS and Warner only holding a minority stake, and it doesn't look good. They let go of the heads of original programming last week, and the CW is not approving any new pilots for this season. If you care about none of what I've said so far about the CW, you might care about this. CW was the one working on the Babylon 5 reboot.
Oh, man, the bloodbath begins. Adam, which of these stories jumps out to you?
Well, there's so many, and they all have different attacks on my feelings. I gotta say, the Babylon 5 one, I'm gonna take two. I'm sorry. The Babylon 5 one, Babylon 5 deserves to be done well. Not because I didn't like the original show so much, but just like they had like $5 to make that show. You know what I mean? You can see it when you watch it. Like, it's like, this is a good idea they had absolutely no money for. Like, I want to see somebody with resources make the show. I think it's really good as a concept. So that's a bummer.
Would it be the craziest idea to imagine like some video games get an upscaling, a complete, remastering of it?
Remaster.
Would it be, that would be a big project because as I'm often told, Babylon 5 gets really good around the 17th season. There's a lot.
It's very it's a high buy-in. It takes a little time to get into it. It's not even just a remaster. Like, it needs some restructuring and stuff. As a concept, it's good. It's a diplomatic show in a way that I feel like Star Trek was always trying to be, but never quite got. I think Babylon 5 is doing that. So that's a bit of a shame. And just to sneak one more comment in, Gladiator 2 is a bananas idea. I don't know what that could possibly be. Is it fighting in Rome heaven? Is that what it is? Is it Rome heaven fights?
Wouldn't it be awesome if they just took the Oscar award-winning Best Picture and then just did a Terminator, 2,000 years in the future? They graft the DNA.
That is the craziest sounding sequel I've ever heard. That's like Citizen Kane 2, The Reckoning. It's like, what are we doing? What does that mean? I need a log line for
Citizen
that.
Kane 2.
Sure. I mean, of course, Casablanca 2, Redux.
Whole Citizen Kane expanded universe.
Oh, what if it did all take place in like the Elysium Fields or whatever? I don't know.
I have a feeling it's just going to be the same script as the original, but like with different names. They just found and replace, like, oh, it's Emperor, who was the next emperor, that guy, and another guy, and now they're gladiating some more.
Yeah, other Roman era, like a different era of Rome. If it has Russell Crowe in it, though, I might either definitely see it or like just reject all knowledge of it. Like I'll just refuse to hear about it.
What if Russell Crowe becomes the Emperor?
First he has to be a zombie. First he has to come back from the dead, and then he
Zombie
can be the
Emperors of Rome.
Zombie Emperors of Rome. That's the subtitle. We did it. That's
It's in. Yeah. All right, let's get to the dispatches from the front.
Tom, we got a lot of responses into our discussion about the difference between HBO's prestige programming, as we were talking about it, and Netflix's programming. Do we want to burn through all three of these? What do you think?
Well, is there a way to summarize them? Last week we were talking about the 10-year anniversary of Ted Sarandos saying we want to become HBO before HBO becomes us at Netflix, and we hit on a lot of the idea that, well, they didn't, because HBO is known still as prestige programming, and Netflix is not.
And
what were people saying?
Well,
Brian?
we speculated, or I speculated that I think you agreed that by trying to fill a bunch of niches, they didn't aim for high prestige stuff. Other people, including Peter Inn, brought up the fact that keep in mind his suggestion is that Netflix's insistence on releasing in a bingey schedule was what held them back. He feels like week over week would have built more water cooler talk, which is a legitimate argument. And we've talked in the past about how we like the hybrid releases. We also got from James Hartman some sentiment that says, here we are ripping on Netflix and saying HBO has all the great stuff. He has the exact opposite feelings on this. He can't find anything good or rewatchable on HBO. He subscribes for 2 months a year, and then he's out because HBO just doesn't have enough. 2 words, Larry Sanders. Just you keep doing that every single year. And
I don't know. When you've got millions of subscribers, there's bound to be a James in them. Like that's not unusual, statistically speaking.
And a friend of the show, B. Lisa, said we forgot to address the fact that it could be that the fact that Netflix has had 2 price hikes, whereas HBO has not, because they were later.
Whereas HBO was always expensive.
I mean that's maybe literally the takeaway.
That's not belittling B. Lisa's point. It's more like, yeah, you were used to it being expensive, but there's something psychological about continually raising the prices that drives people batty. Yeah.
Anyway, send in your thoughts on, we requested, let's talk about audience seating again. I like that one. Cordkillers@gmail.com.
Yeah. I bet there's some good takes on that. Cordkillers@gmail.com. Adam, thank you so much. This was super fun. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. I had a great time. Loved all these discussion points. I'd be curious to hear what suffering the audience would be willing to endure for a cheaper movie ticket.
They have seats with actual beds of nails that you have to sit on.
Yeah, that's known as the pain and supply curves in economics. Yeah.
Adam, where can we follow so much more of your awesome hot takes?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm on Twitter once in a while at The Real Gans. But if you really want to hear more from me, you should check out my video game podcast, One Upsmanship. It's available on all the video game and podcast formats. Please give it a shot. I think you'll hear at least more hot takes and a few jokes and some great ideas about what video games can and should be.
If you watch us live, folks, we'll be an hour earlier next week with our guest, Lamar Wilson. Don't forget our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We will talk to you then.
Hey, Tom Merritt, what's going on?
I'm just hanging out here watching this scroll go by. What are you doing?
Trying to set up a bit where we thank our beautiful, beautiful patrons, all these wonderful
I'm sorry,
names.
I'm too distracted looking at these beautiful, beautiful patron names going by. Look at that one. I mean, if you wanted to be one of these people, patreon.com/cordkillers would be the place to go.
I mean, they're scratching our itch, like, because we're
I think
addicted.
as long as it's consensual, like, fine.
We're addicted to their money.
And love. Might as well face it.
Well, God damn it.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.